regarding anachronism in historical reenactment. There is a standard that should always be upheld when doing reenactment. This standard is different for every group and may apply just to costume interpretation, improv, fight cast, performance, perhaps only just the cast decorum and behavior, rather than the importance of the historical aspect of the event. So many bars to stray aimlessly into one after the other. We eventually find ourselves in the one that welcomes us the most, with the best drinks, the best atmosphere, the best music. We cater to our own desires. This is the Medieval Content Channel. Here we play and will play in many ways, from the Talk Past podcast, the silly Let's Plays, to more serious cinematic series down the line, to lighter atmospheres and lighters, to wicks of things to slowly burn as time does come. Reenactment is a winter wonderland and a gateway to things many consider to be historical, should you allow it to become such. The group have strolled into like a nameless stray in disarray from the world that broke me this way, has never once ever considered the concept of historical accuracy. This is, however, not the insult you may think it is, if you think it is, but if you think it is. It is more of an acknowledgement that our thinking is settled on a different setting because there are many facets to what you do in reenactment, that sometimes one panders more to the other, and you just run with it. This group has focused, above all, on embodying the person you're going to become. Being an actor from improv, combat, to ensuring the crowds have that immersive experience of walking into a wonderland of fun, intensity, humor, darkness, and the little sparks of creativity which each and every individual brings to the fold, like a brain jostling with impulse after impulse to discern who and what you really are. We are all the show we do, but that doesn't mean it's perfect, nor inherently bad for being anachronistic. It is only recently that I've begun to take historical accuracy a bit more seriously. For myself, my eyes, my mind, and the world within is awakened slowly and with time. Being one of the worst in bringing anachronism to the fold, but these habits pandered to and groaned by those around me. That's alright though, but you should know where the bar of standard is for your group, and if that hill is worth dying on, so don't chase the dead. That said, one of my biggest pet peeves has always been that anachronism is always in the forefront of everything. Pseudoscience, which, by the way, is not even a science, it's just a scam. Purposefully harmful interpretations such as Jaws and Jurassic Park, pushing a poorly constructed understanding of the world they make no attempt to comprehend. The intellectual criminal Steven Spielberg went on a smear campaign to spread fear against sharks before the release of Jaws. The radio shows targeting and making claims of shark attacks and sharks in the waters near populated beaches. And to drum up interest and horror in the silly, impotent film he created. This has irrevocably damaged the reputation and the population of sharks across the world. Jurassic Park, despite hiring paleontologist Jack Horner, has damaged the image of dinosaurs, maybe debatably far worse than the image of sharks today. Because we have sharks to show you that they're not the monsters Spielberg begs you to believe in to pad his offshore accounts for his tax avoidance dreams. We don't have the dinosaurs you see in the films to show you the true versions up close and personal, as nothing more than animals. No one wants to look at fossils anymore when they've got these 6-foot monitor lizards that quote-unquote look cool to them. So suddenly the world is using a fraudulent scam of a film series as science fact. The same can be said of history. How we interpret the past can have a positive or negative impact on how believed people were back in that now grossly misunderstood period of human history. It could boil down to theater that poorly represents the Vikings, to modern shows with scam artist costume directors claiming to be focused on historical accuracy and then presenting with Victorian theatre garbage barbarians, that Saxons and Scandinavians acted and looked the way they do on their fraud-subservient shows, like Vikings and The Last Kingdom. It could also be how you interpret your character if the individual is a fully realized human being from the past, to a job boiled down into an archetype formulated in your mind from something done before. People only care about being entertained, and suddenly, entertainment becomes reality when it panders to their desires. What heavy-handed comments for something that could be as toothless as wearing wonderful knee-high Son of Sandler boots, or going out in the lanes wearing glasses because you can't see otherwise. It certainly should be understood that though some believe anachronism doesn't belong in historical reenactment, sometimes it has to apply to the reenactor. In our group, we do take measures to be as close as possible, but for all our calculations, it is noted that comfort and safety go above all else. You need a phone in your pouch to tell the time, to know when to go back to the green room or the chessboard or opening or closing gate. We may need things that help us live our day-to-day lives, and for those little saving graces of being a human in the modern era allowed the gift of technology to move along one foot, or wheel, ahead of the other. There certainly are allowances for this. So don't think that though I am saying anachronism may have no place in historical interpretation through entertainment, as it pertains to doing a festival, or a CA if you will, though we know better, you shouldn't suffer for it. So how do we find that happy medium where we can fully realize the past as closely as we can without steering the public down the wrong path of understanding what we're trying to interpret? Well, it depends. If you do festivals like myself, it's up to the group you work with. If they're alright with you having blue hair or understandably a wheelchair, then that's just the right level of anachronism for you, if you're also okay with that. But if they want to be so strict that the only interpretation you must adhere to are tangible artifacts dug up from actual historical sites, then if that's for you, go for it. But if not, I would say still, give it a try, but don't suffer for it. There is only so far we can push ourselves physically and mentally, but if any group is trying to push you down the well of their own dark desires, run. Anachronism is a debate. It's a bar that exists like stars close or far, and like a morgue glitters all different colors in the cosmos of reenactment. What does it mean to you? How far are you willing to take it? Is your group interpreting history in this real life? Or is it just fantasy? We actors, our heads are stained glass, and the church merely the construct we etched into so that those who walk through may or may not look up and admire. However, anachronism can be a dangerous path if you claim it to hold the weight it never did, until all sense of logic and rationale is in free fall because you refuse even acknowledging the very thing you got into. Anachronism can simply mean the little things we do to help us along the way through our festival days with little to no bearing on any historical interpretations and how people perceive you. It's a word, I suppose, as I've written and now spoken many of them. How you understand them is completely up to you, because no matter the little words and the worlds created with them, it's all up to someone else's complete and possibly different interpretation. In the end, sometimes there is a right and wrong, a black and white, and sometimes there is a gray and a middle. Where do you stand if you stand? Do you allow others to sit in the swamp you've forged? Or do you let them walk the fine line above it, letting them know, however, that you bathe in the bog of eternal stench? They should understand it's all just a dream reflected through a crystal ball. And once they step onto land again, they'll find themselves back in the real world, where at least they know a crying baby is a crying baby. Though I'm not opposed to anachronism, Though I'm not completely opposed to anachronism within festivals, as the one I perform for is completely based on fantasy, we should perhaps look into the mirror and see what we can do as a performer to raise that bar of standard, if only for ourselves. But ultimately, I think the point of reenactment is to learn something, share that knowledge, and have fun, no matter what you do and how you do it. The world you live in is yours to believe.